Hello, and welcome to Sound Off with System 1. I'm your host, Brooke Serban, and I'm here today with a panel of experts for a live Q&A. So before we get started, here are a few words about System 1. System 1 is a leading provider of specialized, highly technical, outsourced services and workforce solutions to critical infrastructure, technology, life sciences, and government sectors, putting more than 650 employees and 9,000 contractors to work in the United States, Canada, and the UK. As you're tuning in today, please join us in the comments. Our marketing team will be monitoring them. Let us know where you're joining from, what industry you work in, and what questions you have for our experts. First, let's have our panel of experts introduce themselves, and to view their hot jobs, you can scan the QR code or head to jobs.system1.com. All right, Sean, can you start us off with introductions?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Sean Thibodeau. I'm a senior recruiter with Mountain Limited, a System 1 division. Mountain Limited is a pioneering telecommunication engineering firm which bridges the communication gaps and strengthens our nation's critical infrastructure. Today's hot job is an outside plant engineer in the Freeport, Illinois area. Of course, you must have telecommunication experience, looking for somebody that has copper and fiber, fielding and designing, permitting, and right of way experience would be a plus. This is a long term W 2 contract position starting at $36 per hour.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Matos. I'm a senior recruiter at Gillette, specializing in clinical research and healthcare recruitment. Today, my hot job is a senior supplier quality engineer in Colorado. They're looking for someone with at least 6 years of experience in a supplier quality role, overseeing CMOs and 2 years of GMP experience, and also must have a medical device experience.
Hi, I'm Garrett Gadosh. I'm a recruiter with System 1 with the main company. Mostly my team and I work in the transit division. So we do a lot of work with railway companies and other transit companies. The hot job that we have right now would be a heavy duty mechanic, a diesel mechanic working in Virginia. There's 3 different locations or garages they have. One is in Leesburg, one is in Woodbridge, and one's in Manassas. They're all on the outskirts of Washington, D.C. We're looking for people with experience working on buses, working on fleet or transit vehicles, have experience with diesel, and are willing to work in a full-time union environment with good benefits, good pay.
Awesome. Thank you all for being here today. And for those of you tuning in, thanks for joining. And this is a live Q&A. So drop your job-seeking questions in the comments and our experts will answer them live. For our first question, we have quite a few from Jackie. I can't pull it, but first one is, what is the biggest mistake you see people make on resumes that gets them overlooked immediately? What do you guys think?
Oh, definitely. I'll start with that one. Great question, Jackie. Probably the biggest thing that I see is sometimes people are not tailoring their resume specifically for the job they're applying for. I encourage you to definitely, partner up, network with a System 1 recruiter, so that way you can ensure your resume is going to be outlined specifically based on the skill sets that the client or the position is asking for. Because one size doesn't fit all, and that's probably the biggest thing I see is there's a lot of different requirements for specific positions. So if you make sure your resume is tailored, it'll set you apart from others.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And another big thing too is keeping your resume organized. I think a lot of times people tend to put too much information and not getting straight to the point of or any type of relevant experience to the job that you're applying to. So just keep it very simple, but also have the important information on your resume and don't have it too lengthy.
Yeah, I agree with what Sean and Kat said. I mean, we can help you. A recruiter can help tailor your resume, can help clean it up and everything. But we got to work with something. So make sure you keep your resume up to date as best you can. Details are good, but not too much. Make it clean, make it readable, and then we can help you to tailor it for the specific job or clean up and edit and make it look more appealing to the hiring people.
Yep, perfect. And we have a lot of questions right here. Let's go with how effective is LinkedIn for applying to industry positions? And do you have tips for standing out there? That's a great question. Thank you. What do you guys think?
Oh, I could definitely start again. Thanks, guys. Putting me on the spot. No, I think LinkedIn is very important. My company specifically in the telecom industry, we are posting jobs on LinkedIn. Many of the recruiters are posting jobs. It really all depends. I think networking and really spending time looking at the job, doing your homework, the research on the company, to making sure that you're a good fit for the position, especially if you're, using LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a great platform. There's a catch to LinkedIn, and I tell this to everybody I talk to. If you got a LinkedIn profile and a resume, you want to definitely make sure that those kind of mirror, because I've had a lot of people in the past that their LinkedIn profile might be perfect for a position, but unfortunately the resume totally looks different. So it goes back to making sure you're specifically tailoring your resume and your kind of LinkedIn profile for the jobs you would work. But I definitely encourage to network with LinkedIn, with the companies you're applying for.
Yeah, I could add to that. When LinkedIn, at first it was kind of thought, oh, that's just for managers, CEOs, the network and everything. But it's changed a lot, and that pretty much everybody can get use out of LinkedIn, no matter what kind of field you're in or what kind of job you're applying for. So even more recently, you wouldn't think you'd find mechanics hanging out on LinkedIn, but I've managed to connect with a few for our jobs, and we found some good candidates that way. So keeping everything up to date on LinkedIn. It can definitely help, and it's become more broad than it is to any specific job or specific industry.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Sean and Garrett on that. Just keeping your profile up to date, that's the best you can do. And make sure that you're also connecting with people on there. So it also shows that you're active and you're live on the profile. So then we can see that, okay, you are interested, you are looking, you're open. That's probably the best recommendation I can say for like LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. Even LinkedIn put out a report that candidates with complete profiles have a 71% higher chance of landing an interview. So definitely update your LinkedIns. All right, we got a question about resumes. Is a 4-page resume too long? It's very specific. What do we think?
Yes, probably. Unless you're into academia and you have to list a lot of the works you've done or projects you've been on. 4 is probably too much. I think maybe if your total work experience goes out to 4 pages, maybe you definitely need to think about tailoring it to certain things, making sure that only the pertinent information is in there. You don't want to leave anything out, but at the same time, I think 4 is a little excessive. 3 is probably too long. 2 is usually the sweet spot, unless you can fit everything on 1 page cleanly.
Yeah, I say what Garrett just mentioned about if you're academia or pharma, 4 actually is perfect. That is a sweet spot for us, just based on you putting out, like you said, projects, but in this case, like therapeutic areas, skills. So EDC systems or EMRs or anything else that you're using within clinical research or pharma, listing those out. Those are going to be very important, and having those details with the phases too. But I think 4 pages is good, especially if you have like 20 plus years of experience. I think if you have less than that, then less pages you should have for a resume.
Yeah, both great answers. Once again, partner up with a recruiter from System One, specifically if you're applying or interested in those positions, because every industry definitely will look at resumes a lot differently. Skill sets, things of that nature, it will have to be highlighted. If you're in doubt of how long your resume should be, probably one of the easiest way to kind of not to eliminate anything, so to speak, but definitely focus on achievements on the positions that you've held, have results on the positions. So instead of just having multiple paragraphs, short bullet points of 93% this was completed or action, have those action verbs with, a percentage or, specific tasks that were completed. So that way that'll actually slim your resume up, but not taking away from it. So that way you're actually still selling yourself the right way.
Yeah, I love that. So definitely industry specific. So I love that plug. Get with our recruiters, find out what works for your industry. And again, using that LinkedIn, if you have all of that experience in your LinkedIn, you can pull exactly what is specific to the job that you're applying to. So that's great. Thank you guys. How about, so we have a question about cover letters. I think they mean if you tailor your resume, do you also tailor your cover letter? Or possibly how can a cover letter help? What do you guys think?
I mean, it depends on the position you're applying for. Sometimes they'll require a cover letter, sometimes they don't. I think if you're working with a recruiter, the nice thing is we can be sort of the cover letter for you. We can get the pertinent information and the summary over to the clients that are looking to hire. And we know what we can focus on and everything so that you don't have to write out an entirely new cover letter for something. But I would say it's definitely job specific, depending on whether you need one or not.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Garrett on that. And another thing too with the cover letter, if you are applying and they are requesting it, I would say change it up a little bit, not to an extreme where you need to completely have a whole new cover letter. I think the cover letter more so explains your resume in a summary and adding important information about yourself as well. So maybe one or two sentences might need to be changed, but nothing said too extreme. As long as you have important information about your background on the cover letter as like a summary, I think you should be fine. But again, you should connect with one of the recruiters if you need a help or anything at all with it.
Yeah, definitely. Both great answers. I mean, if you're going to do the cover letter and one has been requested for you while you're applying for a position, have a very strong opening, line on that cover letter. Don't reinstate your whole resume. The hiring manager is going to look at your resume, and believe it or not, a lot of people sometimes forget to put on the cover letter what position they're actually applying for. Um, I know today's technology, a lot of people don't print off resumes and put it on their desk, so to speak, but you want to make sure that you're, tagging the resume and the cover letter together. And the best thing is it's a selling page. It's like having a summary page on your resume. You want to say why you're the strongest fit for the position, why the company's going to need you at the end of the day to make sure they're more successful. So that's really what you want to tailor that cover letter for.
Perfect. All right, we've got a recent grad here. He wants to know, how do I know if my resume is good or bad so I don't get overlooked? What tips do we have for recent grads?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll kick it off since I didn't finish talking. That's tough. Hopefully, as a recent grad, your university, your school has a program that'll help you with your transitioning out of college for the job search market. I work with a lot of mechanical engineer grads that are looking on the West Coast, the Pacific Northwest, to try to get into telecommunications and kind of highlight, the skills, the designing experience in my case for engineers, what they've done, but really partner with a recruiter, kind of tailor it, depending on what kind of, jobs you've had, you want to make sure you include that. But it's your first job right out of college is a struggle. So definitely get with a reputable recruiter because they can kind of streamline that process. System One's website has some great pointers out there for people to look on to help gauge yourself also. But if you're paying for a recruiter to help you with your resume, probably run away.
Yeah, I would say it's tough whenever you're a recent grad because you don't have a lot of work experience, obviously, but you can highlight what you've done in school, your extracurricular activities, volunteer, anything like that, sports. Obviously, those aren't going to be the be all end all, but when you're a recent grad, you don't have a whole lot to lean on. You want to put in what you can, and also we were talking about cover letters. There's sometimes people put an about you section in their resume if you don't have a lot of work experience. That's where you want to spell out, why you'd be a good candidate, what are your goals, what are you looking for, and everything in a short and concise sort of statement that can help out.
Yeah, both have a great point. I think for the science side of things, if you have projects that you worked on or did some type of lab work while there, list it out, your experience. I'm working a lot with recent grads who are looking for a lab tech position and they don't have, industry experience, which is understandable, but they have the lab experience, at school. So if you list out the things that you've done and accomplished there, or what you worked on and certain techniques, I would say that's probably the best option just because you are applying for a lab tech and you want to show what instruments you're using and then what looks at other classes you have taken.
Yeah. Love it. Moving right along, we've got a question from Adam. How do I show transferable skills if I don't have direct experience in the new role I'm targeting? So along the same lines, but what do we think? Transferable skills.
I would say do some research on the position that you're applying for and looking at. Then you can work with the recruiter, obviously, on that as well. They'll know more of what the hiring managers and what the company is looking for. You don't want to, make things up, but you can definitely show how. Okay, here's what I've done, and here's what your, position or your company does, and here's how I can help. You want to make it relevant to the job that you're applying for, so that they understand that some of the roles and the experience you have from before can help them.
Yeah, and I would say too, and I've told a couple people in the past, is that if you assisted someone on a task, then to put down a bullet point that you assisted with this, this, and this, and explain in details what that may be. If you also have knowledge of something, you can also put in there knowledge of, let's just say, a certain system or whatever case it may be. Again, you don't want to lie, like Garrett said. You want to make sure you're truthful to your experience, but that would probably be the best way to put it, that you've assisted or knowledge of something.
Yeah, most definitely. Those are both great answers. I would definitely highlight in your summary statement. I encourage people to put a summary kind of on the top of their resume with the clients I'm working with on a daily basis. And that's where I would highlight that transferable skills. And if the positions you were in the past or currently, if you're using that skill set, definitely highlight that. That's going back to kind of specific achievements you might have accomplished or achieved. You can highlight those transferable skills in that area.
An AI question. Should we use AI to format the resume to make it more presentable? What are our thoughts?
I think AI is a great tool, but the problem is you still want your resume to be personal. So sometimes you just got to be cautious. You don't want it to kind of overcome and kind of sound like it's too sci-fi in my eyes. You want to make sure it's still down to earth. A lot of the clients and hiring managers I'm working with are looking for the actual person, so to speak, and the resumes is very important, but they're looking for that individual, their ability to stand out. How do they communicate? So you want to make sure when you're in that interview process that the way you're speaking, you're talking, presenting yourself actually kind of resembles your resume. And the same thing with your LinkedIn profile. So just be cautious because AI could kind of make it not as friendly as possible for you to get obtained a position, to get interviewed or hired in a position.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, AI is not a person. So if you have AI rewrite your resume, your cover letter, or helping out on something, you got to reread the whole way through it because not even that there's going to be huge mistakes, but AI isn't perfect. And so, like Sean was saying, like you want to make sure that it looks like a human being wrote it and that it's information that's still personal and still relevant to you specifically, and it's not just some generic form resume or written blurb that an AI chatbot had pumped out.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Sean and Garrett on that. And the biggest thing is to make sure to look over the entire resume and the bullet points are accurate, because sometimes, they may reword things for you, not realizing that it may might have said something that you had knowledge of, but you actually did it. And again, you want to just be truthful on your resume. So just always make sure that you're looking at everything.
Yep, that is perfect. So don't let AI do it all. Still add that human touch. Maybe just let them edit, add those specific keywords that you're looking for in each industry. But yeah, you can't just let AI take away because they can't do the job once you get it. All right, how about we have a salary question? To sum it up, she wants to know, how do you discuss salary negotiation with a potential recruiter?
I can take this one. I think you just be truthful, with us, because initially we're talking for you on behalf of like you to the client overall. So long as you be transparent of what you're looking for and all this stuff, even there's a minimum of there's a range. If you're also, let's say you're a permanent position, you have a set salary, but you also get bonuses and other things. There's a lot of factor that goes into it, I guess, for your next role, which it's very important. So if you're looking to leave your current job for something else, you want to know what the full package consists of. And that's something, you come to us too and be like, hey, okay, well, what is this client offering? Are they offering bonuses? Are they offering any type of other benefits? What's included with the package overall? And that's where we're able to give you that full discussion with it. So it works both sides. We'll be transparent, if you're transparent with us, and we'll have the whole idea for yourself. And sometimes while we're talking to each other, we can, discuss whether or not this position would be a good fit based on the salary.
Yeah, I agree with what Kat said there, and typically, we don't usually go right to your current or former employer to find out how much you make. And like Kat was saying, it's probably best just to be truthful with us on what what you were making at your last job or what you're looking for specifically. If you're changing industries, changing locations, a $75,000 a year salary in one city or one region may not be the same somewhere else. So the more information you can give us, the better we can try and find a good solution. I mean, some of our jobs, they pay a certain rate and that's it. There's not a lot of negotiation. Others have salary ranges or bonuses we can work on. If you tell us what you're looking for and you're truthful and honest about it, we can help you and try and slot you in. Because we work with you and with the client, we have a little bit more knowledge of what they are willing to pay, or more specifically, if the position depends on experience, we would know more of what the company is willing to pay you specifically. You may be looking for a certain amount. We may be able to tell you that they're probably going to be looking to give you this if they hired you, and we can see if that's still a fit, or we can maybe wiggle our way and find something that works for both parties. But really, I mean, don't think that we're trying ever to lowball somebody. I mean, we do better as recruiters the more people we put to work and the more money they make when they work there. So believe me, we want you to get hired. We want you to get a good salary, and you're more likely to stay there too if you're happy about the salary you're making. We're not trying to nickel and dime you.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think you guys both covered the question really good. I mean, on the contracting side, for all the positions I work in telecommunications, I have a pay range. It could be, for example, 30 to 32 based on experience to start off. But the biggest thing is when you're talking with a recruiter is making sure a good understanding what is the total and complete package you are looking for that next adventure. Is it better benefits, less benefits, more paid time off, less paid time off? Is there holiday pay? Things of that nature. Kind of, pay is a big thing, but it's really one small slice of the pie. So you want to make sure you're looking at the whole picture. And I think the recruiters can assist you with trying to tailor the right package so that way, at the end of the day, you're pleased with a new opportunity. And let's be honest, this is a networking event right now. It's a great opportunity to network with a recruiter because today the job might only pay 80,000. Tomorrow a new job comes in that's paying 100,000, which is what you're looking for. That might open up future doors and opportunities for you. Not every job's going to fit everybody, but networking and getting out there and building that relationship with a recruiter that can partner up with you potentially will set you up for success. It doesn't happen all the time. Recruiters try to do their best, of course, but that would help you along with trying to get the right pay range for you on the positions.
Perfect. So we have a few people talking about applying to multiple roles at once. So for our last question of the day, can we just talk about how do I apply for multiple jobs at once, and does that look negatively on me? What do you guys think?
I can take this. I think it just depends. If you're applying for multiple jobs with very similar job responsibilities, that's very normal. But if you're also applying for jobs that are different skill sets and it doesn't align with your background and you just apply to apply, unfortunately, that is not great. You want to apply to jobs, and it's more so for yourself too, taking that time to read the job description, what that looks like, making sure it aligns with your background and your future career. Because I know, most people tend to want to be with a company for 3+ years. If they can be there for 10, that's phenomenal. But I think that's better for you to really look at everything and just see, like I said, your career path and what that looks like. So take your time to read everything and making sure you're applying to roles that fit you. And again, it's not hurtful or a sin really to apply to multiple jobs. That is very normal, especially if you're in the job market. But so just be more mindful of it.
Yeah, that makes sense, Kat. And if you're applying for two roles at the same company, so if we have, in our transit division, sometimes we'll have rail car assemblers. There's more mechanical assembler. There's more an electrical assembler. But you may be somebody that has experience doing both electrical and mechanical assembly, and maybe you have some training or skills in both. Be upfront, be honest with the recruiter, tell them that you applied for both, and we can help you work through that and figure out, okay, maybe this one will be a better fit, or the client only needs one mechanical person, but they need 5 electrical people. I think there's a really good chance if we put you in here for the electrical side, you have a better chance of getting the job or something like that. So just make sure you're giving us all the information, and we can help work through that process. And even if you've applied to somewhere else, like a different company that's not through System 1 or one of their affiliates, keep us in the loop on that, because obviously we're recruiters, we want you to get hired, so we do well. But if there's a job that's paying $25 an hour and you have an offer for a job that pays $35 an hour, it's not going to make sense for us to try and convince you to stick it out and go for this job. It might be the better opportunity to go with the other one, and we'll help you with that. We're going to be realistic.
Yeah, those are both great answers. I mean, the biggest thing in my eyes, and I say this every time I'm on, partner up with a recruiter as much as you can. That's probably the biggest takeaway. And I understand. I talk to people on a daily basis, of course. I work with hiring managers on a daily basis. And there's a lot of people unemployed right now looking for work. And it can be frustrating. And I know it's tough in the industry you might be specifically in. And I guess the best thing is making sure you're tailoring your resume specifically for the job, and really kind of partner up with that company. Do your research on the company, network, have multiple discussions, hopefully with the recruiter that are responding back and forth with you on it, to kind of get that established relationship, because some position might already be filled or in the interview process that you applied for, so you're not going to get an interview, and the recruiter knows that, so they can kind of see what else is in that area for you to help you get a position. It doesn't happen 100% of the time, but I know the teams are always working to look at how they can kind of break through and send a lead on qualified candidates for employers, so that way they can try to get you a job offer. But at the end of the day, you have to do what you think is best, but partner up with a recruiter so they can really work with you hand in hand through the process. And hopefully it works. If recruiting was the easiest job in the world, everybody would be a recruiter. We try to kind of align everybody's skill set with our clients, of course. But there is a lot of people currently applying for a lot of jobs for one position. So sometimes for me in the telecom industry, it's definitely been rough the last 15, 18 months because of the lack of position, so to speak, and the federal fundings and things of that nature. So hang in there, keep your head up, keep a routine, keep the faith. That's all I can tell you.
Excellent. Great way to wrap it up as we are out of time for today. Thank you to our panel, and thank you to everyone that commented. If we didn't get to answer your question live, we'll do our best to answer them in the comments. And don't forget to follow System 1 on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube for all past Sound Off episodes. And make sure you tune in every first and third Friday of the month, as we will have new episodes. And our next episode will be Friday, September 19th, and we'll be discussing how to answer tough interview questions. See you there.